Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda. Volume 2. Hints on Practical Spirituality. Delivered at the Home of Truth, Los Angeles, California. This morning I shall try to present you some ideas about breathing and other exercises. We have been discussing theories so long that now it will be well to have a little of the practical. A great many books have been written in India upon this subject. Just as your people are practical in many things, so it seems our people are practical in this line. 5 persons in this country will join their heads together and say, "We will have a joint stock company," and in 5 hours it is done. In India they could not do it in 50 years, they are so unpractical in matters like this. But, mark you, if a man starts a system of philosophy, however wild its theory may be, it will have followers. For instance, a sect is started to teach that if a man stands on one leg for 12 years, day and night, he will get salvation. There will be hundreds ready to stand on one leg. All the suffering will be quietly borne. There are people who keep their arms upraised for years to gain religious merit. I have seen hundreds of them. And, mind you, they are not always ignorant fools, but are men who will astonish you with the depth and breadth of their intellect. So, you see, the word practical is also relative. We are always making this mistake in judging others. We are always inclined to think that our little mental universe is all that is. Our ethics, our morality, our sense of duty, our sense of utility, are the only things that are worth having. The other day when I was going to Europe, I was passing through Marseille, where a bullfight was being held. All the Englishmen in the steamer were mad with excitement, abusing and criticizing the whole thing as cruel. When I reached England, I heard of a party of prize fighters who had been to Paris, and were kicked out unceremoniously by the French, who thought prize fighting very brutal. When I hear these things in various countries, I begin to understand the marvelous saying of Christ, "Judge not that ye be not judged." The more we learn, the more we find out how ignorant we are, how multiform and multi-sided is this mind of man. When I was a boy, I used to criticize the ascetic practices of my countrymen. Great preachers in our own land have criticized them. The greatest man that was ever born, Buddha himself, criticized them. But all the same, as I am growing older, I feel that I have no right to judge. Sometimes I wish that, in spite of all their incongruities, I had one fragment of their power to do and suffer. Often I think that my judgment and my criticism do not proceed from any dislike of torture, but from sheer cowardice, because I cannot do it, I dare not do it. Then, you see that strength, power, and courage are things which are very peculiar. We generally say, a courageous man, a brave man, a daring man, but we must bear in mind that courage or bravery or any other trait does not always characterize the man. The same man who would rush to the mouth of a cannon shrinks from the knife of the surgeon, and another man who never dares to face a gun will calmly bear a severe surgical operation, if need be. Now, in judging others you must always define your terms of courage or greatness. The man whom I am criticizing as not good may be wonderfully so in some points in which I am not. Take another example. You often note, when people are discussing as to what man and woman can do, always the same mistake is made. They think they show man at his best because he can fight, for instance, and undergo tremendous physical exertion. And this is pitted against the physical weakness and the non-combating quality of woman. This is unjust. Woman is as courageous as man. Each is equally good in his or her way. What man can bring up a child with such patience, endurance, and love as the woman can? The one has developed the power of doing, the other, the power of suffering. If woman cannot act, neither can man suffer. The whole universe is one of perfect balance. I do not know, but but someday we may wake up and find that the mere worm has something which balances our manhood. The most wicked person may have some good qualities that I entirely lack. I see that every day of my life. Look at the savage. I wish I had such a splendid physique. He eats, he drinks, to his heart's content, without knowing perhaps what sickness is, while I am suffering every minute. How many times would I have been glad to have changed my brain for his body? The whole universe is only a wave and a hollow. There can be no wave without a hollow. Balance everywhere. You have one thing great, your neighbor has another thing great. When you are judging man and woman, judge them by the standard of their respective greatness. One cannot be in others' shoes. The one has no right to say that the other is wicked. It is the same old superstition that says, if this is done, the world will go to ruin. But in spite of this, the world has not yet come to ruin. It was said in this country that if the Negroes were freed, the country would go to ruin. But did it? It was also said that if the masses were educated, the world would come to ruin, but it was only made better. Several years ago a book came out depicting the worst thing that could happen to England. The writer showed that as workmen's wages were rising, English commerce was declining. A cry was raised that the workmen in England were exorbitant in their demands, and that the Germans worked for less wages. A commission was sent over to Germany to investigate this, and it reported that the German laborers received higher wages. Why was it so? Because of the education of the masses. Then how about the world going to ruin if the masses are educated? In India, especially, we meet with old fogies all over the land. They want to keep everything secret from the masses. These people come to the very satisfying conclusion that they are the crème de la crème of this universe. They believed they cannot be hurt by these dangerous experiments. It is only the masses that can be hurt by them. Now, coming back to the practical. The subject of the practical application of psychology has been taken up in India from very early times. About 1400 years before Christ, there flourished in India a great philosopher, Patanjali by name. He collected all the facts, evidences, and researches in psychology and took advantage of all the experiences accumulated in the past. Remember, this world is very old, it was not created only 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. It is taught here in the West that society began 1800 years ago, with the New Testament. Before that there was no society. That may be true with regard to the West, but it is not true as regards the whole world. Often, while I was lecturing in London, a very intellectual and intelligent friend of mine would argue with me, and one day after using all his weapons against me, he suddenly exclaimed, "But why did not your rishis come to England to teach us?" I replied, "Because there was no England to come to." Would they preach to the forests? 50 years ago, said Ingersoll to me, you would have been hanged in this country if you had come to preach. You would have been burnt alive or you would have been stoned out of the villages. So there is nothing unreasonable in the supposition that civilization existed 1400 years before Christ. It is not yet settled whether civilization has always come from the lower to the higher. The same arguments and proofs that have been brought forward to prove this proposition can also be used to demonstrate that the savage is only a degraded civilized man. The people of China, for instance, can never believe that civilization sprang from a savage state, because the contrary is within their experience. But when you talk of the civilization of America, what you mean is the perpetuity and the growth of your own race. It is very easy to believe that the Hindus, who have been declining for 700 years, were highly civilized in the past. We cannot prove that it is not so. There is not one single instance of any civilization being spontaneous. There was not a race in the world which became civilized unless another civilized race came and mingled with that race, The origin of civilization must have belonged, so to say, to one or two races who went abroad, spread their ideas, and intermingled with other races, and thus civilization spread. For practical purposes, let us talk in the language of modern science. But I must ask you to bear in mind that, as there is religious superstition, so also there is a superstition in the matter of science. There are priests who take up religious work as their speciality, so also there are priests of physical law, scientists. As soon as a great scientist's name, like Darwin or Huxley, is cited, we follow blindly. It is the fashion of the day. 99% of what we call scientific knowledge is mere theories. And many of them are no better than the old superstitions of ghosts with many heads and hands, but with this difference that the latter differentiated man a little from stocks and stones. True science asks us to be cautious. Just as we should be careful with the priests, so we should be with the scientists. Begin with disbelief. Analyze, test, prove everything, and then take it. Some of the most current beliefs of modern science have not been proved. Even in such a science as mathematics, the vast majority of its theories are only working hypotheses. With the advent of greater knowledge they will be thrown away. In 1400 BC a great sage made an attempt to arrange, analyze, and generalize upon certain psychological facts. He was followed by many others who took up parts of what he had discovered and made a special study of them. The Hindus alone of all ancient races took up the study of this branch of knowledge in right earnest. I am teaching you now about it, but how many of you will practice it? How many days, how many months will it be before you give it up? You are unpractical on this subject. In India, they will persevere for ages and ages. You will be astonished to hear that they have no churches, no common prayers, or anything of the kind, but they, every day, still practice the breathings and try to concentrate the mind, and that is the chief part of their devotion. These are the main points. Every Hindu must do these. It is the religion of the country. Only, each one may have a special method, a special form of breathing, a special form of concentration, and what is one's special method, even one's wife need not know, the father need not know, the sons. But they all have to do these. And there is nothing occult about these things. The word occult has no bearing on them. Near the Ganga thousands and thousands of people may be seen daily sitting on its banks breathing and concentrating with closed eyes. There may be two reasons that make certain practices impracticable for the generality of mankind. One is, the teachers hold that the ordinary people are not fit for them. There may be some truth in this, but it is due more to pride. The second is the fear of persecution. A man, for instance, would not like to practice breathing publicly in this country, because he would be thought so queer. It is not the fashion here. On the other hand, in India, if a man prayed, "Give us this day our daily bread," people would laugh at him. Nothing could be more foolish to the Hindu mind than to say, "Our Father which art in heaven." The Hindu, when he worships, thinks that God is within himself. According to the yogis, there are three principal nerve currents, one they call the Ida, the other the Pingala, and the middle one the Sushumna, and all these are inside the spinal column. The Ida and the Pingala, the left and the right, are clusters of nerves, while the middle one, the Sushumna, is hollow and is not a cluster of nerves. This Sushumna is closed, and for the ordinary man is of no use, for he works through the Ida and the Pingala only. Currents are continually going down and coming up through these nerves, carrying orders all over the body through other nerves running to the different organs of the body. It is the regulation and the bringing into rhythm of the Ida and Pingala that is the great object of breathing. But that itself is nothing, it is only so much air taken into the lungs, except for purifying the blood, it is of no more use. There is nothing occult in the air that we take in with our breath and assimilate to purify the blood. The action is merely a motion. This motion can be reduced to the unit movement we call prana, and everywhere, all movements are the various manifestations of this prana. This prana is electricity, it is magnetism, it is thrown out by the brain as thought. Everything is prana, it is moving the sun, the moon, and the stars. We say, whatever is in this universe has been projected by the vibration of the prana. The highest result of vibration is thought. If there be any higher, we cannot conceive of it. The nerves, Ida and Pingala, work through the prana. It is the prana that is moving every part of the body, becoming the different forces. Give up that old idea that God is something that produces the effect and sits on a throne dispensing justice. In working we become exhausted because we use up so much prana. The breathing exercises, called pranayama, bring about regulation of the breathing, rhythmic action of the prana. When the prana is working rhythmically, everything works properly. When the yogis get control over their own bodies, if there is any disease in any part, they knows that the prana is not rhythmic there and they direct the prana to the affected part until the rhythm is re-established. Just as you can control the prana in your own body, so, if you are powerful enough, you can control, even from here, another man's prana in India. It is all one. There is no break, unity is the law. Physically, psychically, mentally, morally, metaphysically, it is all one. Life is only a vibration. That which vibrates this ocean of ether, vibrates you. Just as in a lake, various strata of ice of various degrees of solidity are formed, or as in an ocean of vapor there are various degrees of density, so is this universe an ocean of matter. This is an ocean of ether in which we find the sun, moon, stars, and ourselves, in different states of solidity, but the continuity is not broken, it is the same throughout. Now, when we study metaphysics, we come to know the world is one, not that the spiritual, the material, the mental, and the world of energies are separate. It is all one, but seen from different planes of vision. When you think of yourself as a body, you forget that you are a mind, and when you think of yourself as a mind, you will forget the body. There is only one thing, that you are, you can see it either as matter or body, or you can see it as mind or spirit. Birth, life, and death are but old superstitions. None was ever born, none will ever die, one changes one's position, that is all. I am sorry to see in the West how much they make of death, always trying to catch a little life. Give us life after death. Give us life. They are so happy if anybody tells them that they are going to live afterwards. How can I ever doubt such a thing? How can I imagine that I am dead? Try to think of yourself as dead, and you will see that you are present to see your own dead body. Life is such a wonderful reality that you cannot for a moment forget it. You may as well doubt that you exist. This is the first fact of consciousness, I am. Who can imagine a state of things which never existed? It is the most self-evident of all truths. So, the idea of immortality is inherent in man. How can one discuss a subject that is unimaginable? Why should we want to discuss the pros and cons of a subject that is self-evident? The whole universe, therefore, is a unit, from whatever standpoint you view it. Just now, to us, this universe is a unit of prana and akasha, force and matter. And mind you, like all other basic principles, this is also self-contradictory. For what is force? That which moves matter. And what is matter? That which is moved by force. It is a seesaw. Some of the fundamentals of our reasoning are most curious, in spite of our boast of science and knowledge. It is a headache without a head, as the Sanskrit proverb says. This state of things has been called Maya. It has neither existence nor non-existence. You cannot call it existence, because that only exists which is beyond time and space, which is self-existence. Yet this world satisfies to a certain degree our idea of existence, therefore it has an apparent existence. But there is the real existence in and through everything, and that reality, as it were, is caught in the meshes of time, space, and causation. There is the real man, the infinite, the beginningless, the endless, the ever-blessed, the ever-free. He has been caught in the meshes of time, space, and causation. So has everything in this world. The reality of everything is the same infinite. This is not idealism. It is not that the world does not exist. It has a relative existence, and fulfills all its requirements, but it has no independent existence. It exists because of the absolute reality beyond time, space, and causation. I have made long digressions. Now, let us return to our main subject. All the automatic movements and all the conscious movements are the working of prana through the nerves. Now, you see, it will be a very good thing to have control over the unconscious actions. On some other occasions, I told you the definition of God and man. Man is an infinite circle whose circumference is nowhere, but the center is located in one spot, and God is an infinite circle whose circumference is nowhere, but whose center is everywhere. He works through all hands, sees through all eyes, walks on all feet, breathes through all bodies, lives in all life, speaks through every mouth, and thinks through every brain. Man can become like God and acquire control over the whole universe if he multiplies infinitely his center of self-consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, is the chief thing to understand. Let us say that here is an infinite line amid darkness. We do not see the line, but on it there is one luminous point which moves on. As it moves along the line, it lights up its different parts in succession, and all that is left behind becomes dark again. Our consciousness may well be likened to this luminous point. Its past experiences have been replaced by the present, or have become subconscious. We are not aware of their presence in us, but there they are, unconsciously influencing our body and mind. Every movement that is now being made without the help of consciousness was previously conscious. Sufficient impetus has been given to it to work of itself. The great error in all ethical systems, without exception, has been the failure of teaching the means by which man could refrain from doing evil. All the systems of ethics teach, do not steal. Very good, but why does a man steal? Because all stealing, robbing, and other evil actions, as a rule, have become automatic. The systematic robber, thief, liar, unjust man and woman, are all these in spite of themselves. It is really a tremendous psychological problem. We should look upon man in the most charitable light. It is not so easy to be good. What are you but mere machines until you are free? Should you be proud because you are good? Certainly not. You are good because you cannot help it. Another is bad because he cannot help it. If you were in his position, who knows what you would have been? The woman in the street, or the thief in the jail, is the Christ that is being sacrificed that you may be a good man. Such is the law of balance. All the thieves and the murderers, all the unjust, the weakest, the wickedest, the devils, they all are my Christ. I owe a worship to the God Christ and to the demon Christ. That is my doctrine, I cannot help it. My salutation goes to the feet of the good, the saintly, and to the feet of the wicked and the devilish. They are all my teachers, all are my spiritual fathers, all are my saviors. I may curse one and yet benefit by his failings. I may bless another and benefit by his good deeds. This is as true as that I stand here. I have to sneer at the woman walking in the street, because society wants it. She, my savior, she, whose street walking is the cause of the chastity of other women. Think of that. Think, men and women, of this question in your mind. It is a truth, a bare, bold truth. As I see more of the world, see more of men and women, this conviction grows stronger. Whom shall I blame? Whom shall I praise? Both sides of the shield must be seen. The task before us is vast, and first and foremost, we must seek to control the vast mass of sunken thoughts which have become automatic with us. The evil deed is, no doubt, on the conscious plane, but the cause which produced the evil deed was far beyond in the realms of the unconscious, unseen, and therefore more potent. Practical psychology directs first of all its energies in controlling the unconscious, and we know that we can do it. Why? Because we know the cause of the unconscious is the conscious. The unconscious thoughts are the submerged millions of our old conscious thoughts. Old conscious actions become petrified. We do not look at them, do not know them, have forgotten them. But mind you, if the power of evil is in the unconscious, so also is the power of good. We have many things stored in us as in a pocket. We have forgotten them, do not even think of them, and there are many of them, rotting, becoming positively dangerous. They come forth, the unconscious causes which kill humanity. True psychology would, therefore, try to bring them under the control of the conscious. The great task is to revive the whole man, as it were, in order to make him the complete master of himself. Even what we call the automatic action of the organs within our bodies, such as the liver etc., can be made to obey our commands. This is the first part of the study, the control of the unconscious. The next is to go beyond the conscious. Just as unconscious work is beneath consciousness, so there is another work which is above consciousness. When this superconscious state is reached, man becomes free and divine, death becomes immortality, weakness becomes infinite power, and iron bondage becomes liberty. That is the goal, the infinite realm of the superconscious. So, therefore, we see now that there must be a twofold work. First, by the proper working of the Ida and the Pingala, which are the two existing ordinary currents, to control the subconscious action, and secondly, to go beyond even consciousness. The books say that he alone is the yogi who, after long practice in self-concentration, has attained to this truth. The Sushama now opens and a current which never before entered into this new passage will find its way into it, and gradually ascend to, what we call in figurative language, the different lotus centers, till at last it reaches the brain. Then the yogi becomes conscious of what he really is, God himself. Everyone without exception, every one of us, can attain to this culmination of yoga. But it is a terrible task. If a person wants to attain to this truth, he will have to do something more than to listen to lectures and take a few breathing exercises. Everything lies in the preparation. How long does it take to strike a light? Only a second, but how long it takes to make the candle? How long does it take to eat a dinner? Perhaps half an hour, but hours to prepare the food. We want to strike the light in a second, but we forget that the making of the candle is the chief thing. But though it is so hard to reach the goal, yet even our smallest attempts are not in vain. We know that nothing is lost. In the Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna, those who fail in attaining perfection in yoga in this life, are they destroyed like the clouds of summer? Krishna replies, nothing, my friend, is lost in this world. Whatever one does, that remains as one's own, and if the fruition of yoga does not come in this life, one takes it up again in the next birth. Otherwise, how do you explain the marvelous childhood of Jesus, Buddha, Shankara? Breathing, posturing, etc. are no doubt helps in yoga, but they are merely physical. The great preparations are mental. The first thing necessary is a quiet and peaceable life. If you want to be a yogi, you must be free, and place yourself in circumstances where you are alone and free from all anxiety. He who desires a comfortable and nice life and at the same time wants to realize the self is like the fool who, wanting to cross the river, caught hold of a crocodile, mistaking it for a log of wood. Vivekananda, 84. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything shall be added unto you. This is the one great duty. This is renunciation. Live for an ideal, and leave no place in the mind for anything else. Let us put forth all our energies to acquire that, which never fails, our spiritual perfection. If we have true yearning for realization, we must struggle, and through struggle growth will come. We shall make mistakes, but they may be angels unawares. The greatest help to spiritual life is meditation, dhyana. In meditation we divest ourselves of all material conditions and feel our divine nature. We do not depend upon any external help in meditation. The touch of the soul can paint the brightest color even in the dingiest places. It can cast a fragrance over the vilest thing. It can make the wicked divine, and all enmity, all selfishness is effaced. The less the thought of the body, the better. For it is the body that drags us down. It is attachment, identification, which makes us miserable. That is the secret, to think that I am the spirit and not the body, and that the whole of this universe with all its relations, with all its good and all its evil, is but as a series of paintings, scenes on a canvas, of which I am the witness.